Moving on, a massive financial crisis is being reported in Himachal Pradesh. Congress government is facing the heat for not being able to pay salaries of as many as 15,000 employees of various departments, despite half the month already gone by. Several people hired during COVID times have also not been paid for 4 months, we are learning, and are facing the axe now. This is coming at a time when Chief Minister Sukhu has himself been raising the alarm over state finances. While the Congress government is facing questions over their freebie model that can be credited to also getting them into power in Himachal earlier, and reversing of the NPS, the new pension scheme, to the OPS, one of their promises in the state, that increased the burden on the state finances. The party and the government is blaming the previous BJP government for leaving the finances in a precarious situation. Now, the state of Himachal Pradesh has accumulated a whopping debt of 75,000 crore rupees. Despite facing a mountain of debt, the 6-month-old Congress government promised to revert the old pension scheme, placing an annual burden of 800 to 900 crore rupees more. They've also promised free electricity up to 300 units monthly, for which the cost is a similar 800 crore rupees per year. Now, the impact is being felt on the economy. The state has no money to pay salaries, pensions, and even for development projects, something the Chief Minister himself has accepted. Take a look at the cost of freebies promised during campaigning. These are draining other states as well, even though in many of them, promised goals haven't even been implemented. Punjab is one such example where the Aam Aadmi Party promised free power and even cash to each woman monthly. The cost of such freebies promised is 20,000 crore rupees per year. This is for a state that is already reeling under debt. Similarly, in Karnataka, recently Congress promised top 5 guarantees, the cost of which is going to be around 50,000 crore rupees per year. So the big debate that's coming up, are the people beginning to pay the price for freebies? While it benefits some, is it beginning to hurt the public at large?
पेंशन और सैलरी की राह में आज 14 तारीख हो गई है और पेंशन और सैलरी का कोई अता पता नहीं है। बड़े दुख की बात है।
वर्तमान जो फाइनेंशियल जो स्थिति है, जो क्राइसिस आया है, उसके लिए कांग्रेस पार्टी के साथ साथ में कांग्रेस सरकार वो जिम्मेवार है।
शायद उनकी गारंटी में पेंशनर्स को पेंशन देना और सरकारी कर्मचारियों को उनका वेज देना, अब ये कहेंगे हमारी गारंटी में नहीं।
HRTC की व्यवस्था आपको मालूम है कि 144 करोड़ रुपए का खर्चा है पर मंथ और इनकम 65 करोड़ है।
फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन है जो पिछली सरकार से एक बहुत बड़ा कर्जा 75,000 करोड़ का या 11,000 करोड़ रुपए की जो लाइबिलिटीज मिली है, उसके बावजूद ये सारी चीजें एक चैलेंज तो प्रेजेंट गवर्नमेंट के सामने है।
Now, Himachal Chief Minister Sukhvinder Sukhu has finally spoken out on this issue. He has denied that there is any delay in salaries of government employees. He is saying that there is misinformation being spread by the BJP. Listen in.
टीसी की सैलरी हमेशा 17-18 तारीख को ही मिलती है।
1 तारीख को मिलती है नहीं,
हाँ तो खुद कह रहे तो 14 तारीख को मिली, आजकल में मिल जाएगी। HRTC का भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने पिछले 3 साल से ओवर टाइम नहीं दिया था, नाइट नहीं दी थी। मैंने उनकी ओवर टाइम और नाइट की आधी पेमेंट कर दी है और आधी हम वो करने जा रहे हैं। भारतीय जनता पार्टी से पूछा जाना चाहिए ना कि वो 3 साल से उनके नाइट और ओवर टाइम क्यों नहीं दिया गया। और जो सैलरी की बात है, मेरे समय से नहीं है, हमें तो अभी 6 महीने हुए सरकार में आए। हम तो जो व्यवस्था बिगड़ी हुई है उसको ठीक कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये दृष्टिकोण अपनाना कि हम पर दोष लगाना गलत बात है।
Let's go across to the guest joining us. Dhruv Jatti is a Congress spokesperson. Professor Dr. Aman Agarwal is Director, Indian Institute of Finance, also with us. I'm also expecting Shazia Ilmi of the BJP to be with us very soon. Dhruv, this is a question that the Congress party is going to face almost every day. You're facing this in Karnataka, not just the fact that you've changed the very nature of the guarantees you promised at the time of elections. So even if you're being financially prudent now, that wasn't what was promised to the public. and of course the burden on the exchequer. And in state after state, more such reports are coming to light. How do you explain the fact that in Himachal, a state that has very limited resources, you promised the moon to the public and now people are suffering?
Shivani, I agree that the situation in Himachal is no doubt challenging. But speaking about Karnataka, the Congress party wasn't just the only party that put forth welfare schemes. It was even the Bharatiya Janata Party as well in their manifesto that had promised these welfare schemes. Now, talking about what has been put forth, mainly is that if you look at it, even the Supreme Court had observed that political parties cannot have any restrictions on what schemes they can be, what I would say, reduced to. Every political party has the right to go ahead and speak about what they propose to the party and to the people, and that's the observation made by the Supreme Court. Now, the bigger hindrance that we should be speaking about is about what is happening with the money that is being given to corporates. Is there any sort of accountability that the central government has? And
no, I'm sorry, Dhruv.
Why is it that
Dhruv, don't deviate from the questions. We are discussing doles being promised at the time of elections. Right or wrong is a separate matter. I'm not even going into the merits of promising cash in the hands of all women in a state, for example, of free public transport, which you're now putting conditions on. You're being very smart and prudent about this in Karnataka now. But then that brings us to the political question that you fooled the public that everyone will get it, which eventually is not the case. But please answer my pointed question. In a state like Himachal, was it not financially, imprudent to offer things like a reversal of the NPS, to offer 300 units of electricity free? The state cannot afford it.
No, we cannot deny that it's not a challenging situation. I wholeheartedly agree that it is a challenging situation in Himachal, but you cannot say that in Karnataka we fooled the people simply because there are beneficiaries already of the Congress guarantees and they were happy. You must look through most of the videos or the clippings.
No, a lot of them are complaining too.
During the scheme of the, I'm talking about the free bus pass system, which was recently inaugurated, and you can see the happiness amongst people, especially those in the rural areas who suffer to,
can I tell you, there are images on social media and they are not rural women. In fact, the question that is being asked on social media is, did these women deserve free bus tickets? The kinds that are posting their selfies with those free tickets, including your Congress spokespersons.
No, I understand what you're referring to. And in order to promote the scheme that is put forth by the party, I think it's important that awareness is spread on the whole.
Okay, there are two issues here. No, Dhruv, there are two issues here. If the state can afford it, the state must offer, more services to the public. I don't think anybody is denying that. But one, this is about what is promised at the time of election and the nature of the scheme implemented. That is one issue. The second issue, I want to go across to the financial expert on our show, Dr. Aman. The other issue is about what states are going through as far as their exchequer is concerned, their debt ratios is concerned, the loans that they're having to take to pay these, to service their salaries, pensions, etc. Are you sensing that in the race to come to power, and we live in very politically heightened atmosphere, parties and governments just no longer are looking at the financial health of a state?
No, I quite agree with your statement which you have made just now, but the important thing is, firstly, a very thin line which actually divides between freebies and welfare schemes. Mm-hmm. And that's been a complex question because the opposition always says this is a freebie and the party in power will say this is a welfare scheme. And this is not something unique with India or any other specific country. It's whether it's a developed country like the United States or Japan or even a country like India, we have seen these kind of things happen where freebies or subsidies or in fact welfare schemes are given out. In a country like India, for till almost 2015-16, roughly about 13 lakh crore was being waived every year on account of farm waivers and others. And then there was a major stop which was done, accounting for that. But then again, recently we saw again farm waivers has become a move which is getting up given the fact that elections are due. So there is a very thin line between welfare and what you call freebies. Yes. But what you rightly said is very critical. Whether we can afford that freebie or not, or a welfare scheme to be given out, looking at the financial condition or the balance sheet of our state. And that is very critical for both the party in power as well as the administration there to actually enlighten them that this would not be an important factor to go forward, given the fact that it is the taxpayers' money which they're actually using to go and give out these freebies or welfare
Not
schemes
just taxpayers'
to the people
money.
at large.
One could
And that will
argue,
be the
as
cause
many
of
political
the
parties do, that everybody pays tax. It's not just about direct income tax. But, you know, fundamentally the issue that the public does need to understand is that these quote-unquote freebies, they come from someone's pocket, right? The government doesn't magically produce this. So in Karnataka, for example, there are people who are paying a higher electricity bill than they used to before the new government came to power. Rates have been hiked, etc. I know Congress will say this was partly done by the previous government. And there are some who will get the benefit of 200 units, up to 200 units of electricity free. So, you know, while some may benefit, the others are having to pay for it. For others, there is a cost involved and an additional cost involved. Shazia Ilmi of the BJP is also joining us. Shazia Ilmi, we've just heard from the Chief Minister in Himachal Pradesh. He's saying that this is all a canard being spread by the BJP. That actually salaries have not been held. It was always paid on the 17th of the month. The BJP is trying to defame the government there. And actually the BJP is responsible for the sorry state of finances in the state of Himachal Pradesh.
So let's start from the very beginning. I think there's a lot to be said on the subject. And it started, we know that for years and years, subsidy politics has been in play. Now it's important for politicians to do their work, and that would be good. And good politics would mean welfare economics, would mean reaching out to the last man or a woman down the line. But good politics should also makes for good economics, which means that the overall economy of the state and of the center and of the union, so to speak, remains solid. Now we've seen the challenges that have happened of late. There is a difference between pre-budgetary allocation and a planning in the outlay in the scheme of things. There is something else about electoral sops. Now, when you start giving these sops just to come to power and appeal to the lowest common denominator and say that, look, everybody gets 1,500 here and 2,000 there, what does it do? What does it do for you? Immediately as a political party, your stock rises because there is this open promise of money, cash. But it takes away a lot from the overall economy. You see what happened in Punjab. Now, so many promises were made. It is not financially tenable to deliver those promises because there is a huge debt. There is a fiscal deficit. There is a massive debt that the state owes. And where do you get the money? So what they've ended up doing, they've ended up raising the VAT on petrol and diesel. That's what Punjab has done. So again, it is the same people, because that does not only mean the car owners and the bus owners and the roadways, but it also means inflation, because it affects goods and services. It affects the prices of vegetables and fruits. So indirectly you hurt the same garib insan also, as much as the middle classes. And I think this is where the realization should come in, that it hurts all. If you think, and हमारे बहुत सारे गरीब भाई बहन हैं, उनके लिए बहुत मैटर करता है, 500 मिल जाए, 1000 बहुत बड़ी चीज होती है, और हम समझ भी सकते हैं. लेकिन इस तरह का कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस अगर पॉलिटिक्स में आ जाएगा, तो आप सोचिए आप क्या करेंगे. इससे सबका नुकसान है.
No, that's exactly what I pointed out.
Exactly,
that's exactly what I pointed out, that it ultimately comes from someone else's pocket. And the bottom line is the financial health of the state. There is a cap on how much you can borrow. And, you know, states are floundering on that. So let me give Dhruv Jatti 30 seconds to just respond on that, because primarily this charge is coming against parties like yourself. Of course, AAP has faced that in the past. Don't you think it's time to come together to also think of what you can promise and what is just not doable?
Shivani, first of all, it's the money of Kannadigas being used for Kannadigas, right? And subsidy on the whole has a bunch of indirect benefits. You just can't call it a freebie. There are merit and non-merits which were published by the Congress government themselves when they were in the center previously, and you must have a look at it. What I'm trying to say is that when a scheme like the free bus pass is benefiting a bunch of lakhs, in fact, of rural women, what is the problem with it? And if it's going to be
the problem is whether the state can afford it or not. Also, maybe the money could have gone into adding more buses. This is a fundamental question between developmental expenditure and freebie expenditure. Why not add more buses to the transport department so that more people can travel in better conditions. Let me give Dr. Aman a final 30 seconds. Well, no, I'm sorry, I've run out of time. 30 seconds to Dr. Aman as well. What is it that states should ideally be doing for betterment of everybody? Because it almost seems like it has become about garnering vote banks now.
No, it is true that you need to look at the long-run perspective and see the overall development of the society. Because if you have a limited cash, and that's limited resources always there, whether it was land, capital, or whatever you may say, and if you are able to distribute it like freebies or rations, you are not going to have them for tomorrow. And tomorrow's generation would even suffer worse, because where will they get the money or the structures to actually go and bring in about their development? So in my opinion, what you rightly pointed out is that it's a question of developmental issues which need to be coined up and balanced with the welfare framework which governments are trying
targeted
to do.
Welfare.
And keep in mind that it is a hard-earned money of taxpayers and people, whether paying indirectly.
You didn't really take the other taxpayers, you didn't really make it clear to them that they would have to pay more to fund your electoral promises. That's also a problem in democracy. But in any case, I think one of the most fundamental issues is the NPS issue in Himachal Pradesh, for example. This was something that was done because India needed it. And in Himachal, the Congress and other states also, it's going on to promise a reversal to the old pension scheme that when the states cannot afford it. And you've got your own former advisors saying that this is a disastrous move. So I'll leave it at that. We'll try to take up this issue in greater length in days to come. A big thanks to our guests for joining us. Coming up after a break, Cyclone Biparjoy is making landfall tomorrow morning. Our reporters are getting you the latest from on ground. Stay tuned for some more reports.